Hi there. Welcome to episode 3 of Sales Without the BS. I'm Troy Harrison, the Sales Navigator. And if this looks a little bit different to you, it should. I'm actually coming to you from my hotel room in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm down here speaking for a couple of different CEO groups, and I'm also working with a client down here. So since I was going to be away from my office all week, I thought, well, what the hell? I will shoot this right from my hotel room. And today we got some BS to talk about. Let me tell you what, we're gonna get into our main issue here in a minute, which in our main issue is about one of the oldest, crappiest sales techniques that I still see trained out there. As a matter of fact, I was asked about it in the session I did this morning, and that is called the upfront contract. I'm going to tell you why it sucks, but I'm not just going to talk about that technique. I'm going to talk about why it's bad as a whole genre of sales techniques. Then we're going to go into from my feed, and as usual, I'm going to pick out 3 things from my LinkedIn feed that really kind of tripped my trigger this week, and we're going to talk about them. Finally, you're going to get the quick win. So in 60 seconds at the very end, I'm going to give you a technique that you can take and use to make money right now. So make sure you sit through the entire episode and get that quick win. The episode isn't quick, the win is. So, the upfront contract. Okay, first of all, if you don't know what the upfront contract is, congratulations, count yourself lucky, because it's dumb. But I'll tell you what the upfront contract is. The upfront contract is, and I'm convinced this is one of those sales techniques that is sold primarily to market the sales trainers that are selling themselves using it, rather than to market you or their other trainees. But it works like this. You sit down with a prospect or a customer, and you open up the sales call like this. So, John, let's just agree on the purpose of today. I'm here to talk about our brand new machine and see if it fits your needs. And can we agree that if you like what you hear, that you're going to proceed forward? Okay, pardon my French, but what a little horse shit. You haven't given anything. You're asking for, the salesperson who does this is asking for commitment without giving the customer anything to commit to. It is a process designed to begin maneuvering the customer back into a corner. And it's part of a whole genre of sales techniques that are designed to maneuver and manipulate people back into a corner so that you can kind of trap them, and then they can't not buy. They have to buy from you. Doesn't work. Customers always have the right not to buy from you. And what's bad about this is this isn't something you do at the end of a sales call. It's an opening to a sales call. So what does the customer say? Well, the customer says, no, if I like what I see, we can absolutely move forward. Well, that's what the salesperson's looking for. The idea is to make sure that I've got a real buyer. I don't have a tire kicker here. But what if the customer says, well, yeah, I'm not going to commit to moving forward. What you going to do about it then, sport? Then you're going to sit there and you're actually going to start handling objections before you've ever asked a single question, before you've ever presented any solutions. It's dumb. And here's the other thing it does to you. It lets the customer know that they've got to play defense with you the whole time. When you use the upfront contract, you immediately lose the right and opportunity to have a natural dialogue. I'm noticing that my hands are making shadows on the backdrop, but I wish I knew how to do shadow animals. Anyway, you are losing the opportunity with your customer to have a natural dialogue and get completely candid answers, because from that point, you are setting your customer on edge, and your customer is going to be measuring everything you say in light of that, because they know you're trying to maneuver and manipulate them, and customers don't want to be manipulated. So they're going to sit there and go, okay, if I give this guy the real answer to that question, what does that do to me in terms of that little commitment he asked me for at the beginning? It's stupid. It's stupid spelled STOOPID. That's how stupid it is. The truth of it is, what customers really want from you is an authentic personal dialogue about their issues. Not about you, about their issues and how you can solve them to make their business lives better, or in the B2C world, to make their lives better. When you ask for an upfront contract, You completely remove yourself from that. And what are you going to do at the end if the customer violates the upfront contract? You're going to go, "Wah! You said this, and now you're doing this." It's dumb. Look, here's how to understand customer commitment. Your customer has made a commitment with you by agreeing to see you. People, particularly millennials and Gen Zs, and remember the average B2B buyer is 36 years old now, square in the heart of the millennial generation. Millennials and Zs aren't going to make tire kicker appointments. They don't have time for it. They don't have interest in it. Nobody's begging to see salespeople like that. If your customer is making an appointment with you, you can presume commitment in the idea that, yeah, if they like what they hear, if they like what you say and do within this sales call, you're probably going to have a pretty good chance of moving forward. And of course, we can define and differentiate that and nail that down when we get to the end of the sales call. Look, I got no problem with asking customers for commitment after you have given them something to commit to. The upfront contract is before you've given them something to commit to, which is dumb. I'll tell you something about me when it comes to upfront contracts. When I'm a buyer, if a salesperson comes in and tries to do an upfront contract on me, sales call's over. I'm launching them because I know that they're full of crap and I know that they're not going to make good use of my time. And guess what? This is a trend that I'm seeing more and more. Now let's break down the genre. I've pretty much, I hope, buried this sales technique. But let's talk about that genre of sales techniques. It is a genre of fear-based defensive selling. The fear is that salespeople are going to meet with customers that aren't going to buy. Guess what, Slappy? You're going to meet with customers that aren't going to buy. Happens all the time. And you're trying to defend yourself from customers that aren't going to make good use of your time. Again, guess what? Not every customer is going to make the best use of your time. But I have found that if you treat customers with respect, if you presume the positive, and you deal with them in a natural way, you're going to get customers who are going to be much more candid with you, much more respectful of you and your time, and probably a higher velocity in the buyer's journey. You're going to move towards a quicker close, and isn't that what we all want? So here's the thing. If you are still using a technique like the upfront contract, guess what? 1975 called. It doesn't even want that back. So get rid of defensive, fear-based sales tactics and instead work towards having authentic dialogues with your customers, and you're going to be more successful. I promise you that. All right, now let's have some fun. It's time for From My Feed. And there's been a lot of good stuff that's come in the last week. This is one of those posts that I actually 100% agree with. The person that posted it says, "Stop selling like you're trying to make a new friend. That's why your close rate is embarrassing." And it does the clown putting on his makeup meme, but I've never seen this twist on it. I like it. The first one, "How's the weather where you are?" Christmas period. Hi. "Are you busy this week?" Please buy my stuff. Salespeople that focus on making small talk are small salespeople. I'm not saying that you shouldn't extend courtesy to your customers, but what I am saying, and I find conversations about the weather and the Christmas season and, of course, the classic football, I find them tiresome. I find them to be an incredible waste of my time. And when a salesperson talks to me, and yes, it happens a lot, I'm looking for them to get to the meat of the matter. What are you doing here? How can you help me? What do you need to know to be able to help me? It doesn't mean you got to go in and charge like the offensive line in a football game, but what it does mean is being respectful of a customer's time means not doing this stuff. By the way, this is another one of those fear-based techniques. Salespeople say these useless bridges because they don't know what to say next, and they're scared to death that if they start talking business, the customer's going to throw them out. Guess what? The customer knows you're there to talk business. That's why they're there. So it really does set your buyer on edge, even if your buyer isn't as crusty as I am. All right, next up for From My Feed, and I got to be honest with you, this one's probably in the running for dumbest LinkedIn post of 2025, not just for what's said here, but for what he accompanied it with. Okay, I'm just going to read this to you. If you're not closing enough deals, ask yourself, am I any good at physical fighting? Because the psychology behind fighting and selling is identical. Oh, good friggin' Lord. Oh my God. Again, dumb. This is exactly what we're trying to avoid in selling. All right, I'm going to continue. On a primitive level, your nervous system treats both as threats. To your brain, losing in both situations registers as loss of status, loss of resources, and looking weak. Of course, very seldom do people get hospitalized from losing a sales call. Just saying. And like every other skill, if you've never tested yourself physically, your brain has zero reference points for I can handle this. But when you train in combat sports, you're teaching your subconscious something words can't. I can handle pressure. I can walk into uncomfortable situations. I can take a hit and keep moving forward. And that directly translates to more sales. I've seen it before. When a guy who practices retaining my composure. When a guy who practices jujitsu 3 times a week walks into a sales meeting, his body language and voice are different. By the way, notice we're only speaking to guys here. A prospect saying no doesn't register as a real threat because his nervous system knows the situation can be worse. He doesn't need the sale as badly. Okay, I cannot finish my commentary on this post off without showing you the picture that he put there. Oh my God. The guy actually put in a shirtless gym pic. Start giving your body some evidence that it can handle pressure and watch your close rates go up. Okay, full disclosure. There's a 99.9% chance that this guy could kick my ass in a fight. Never been a big fighter. There's a 100% chance that he can beat me in a bodybuilding contest. Also a 100% chance that he can beat me in a tattoo contest, because guess what? Don't have any tattoos. But whether or not he could beat my trainees in a selling contest, I don't know. Let me ask you this. How many of your customers do you think want to engage in combat when they are entertaining a salesperson for a sales call? The idea, and look, I've seen all kinds of sports ball analogies for sales. Most of them are crap, but honest to God, this is the worst one I've ever seen. 35 years, this is the worst analogy I have ever seen, because selling and fighting, if selling and fighting are anything alike, you're doing one of the two wrong. That's all I got to say. And when he's talking about the ability to handle pressure, the ability to persevere through adversity, there are other ways that you can acquire that. As a matter of fact, selling itself is a great way to go through that. Look, in some ways, I actually, on a weird level, get what he's trying to accomplish. He's trying to tell you that you need to be able to handle adversity, but to take that and make a physical combat contest out of it, man, this just isn't a fit for most customers or most salespeople. And again, I noticed he was only speaking to guys, and 50% of our salespeople are women. So I'm only telling you about that to tell you to completely disregard that. Look, sales is about intellectualism. It is to a certain degree about emotionalism as well. But it is about understanding the intellectual motivations of your customer and working with them in order to provide solutions for their problems. Fighting is about working against your opponent and attempting to defeat them. In sales, we're not trying to defeat our customers. So please, for the love of God, don't approach it that way. All right. Whew, that was a good one. All right, let's move on to the next one from my feed. Okay, this was a post that went viral on LinkedIn. I actually saved the screenshot because I thought it was really, really good. And actually, this is a different fear-based tactic, just not a sales tactic. So let's talk about it. As badly as I need a job, there is no way in Hades that I'm going to jump through this many hoops for an individual contributor role as a customer success manager. I pulled this right from the job posting, and it's laughable. Interview process. Initial phone call with recruiter, 30 minutes. Topics, culture, logistics. Interview with hiring manager, 60 minutes via Zoom call. Topics, culture, skills, role overview. Rembrandt assessment. Topic, the Rembrandt assessment. I'll be honest, I've never heard of that one, but there's a lot of assessments out there. Most of them are junk. The Rembrandt assessment allows company name. They actually, maybe she removed the company name to protect the guilty. Anyway, to assess how your personality fits within the role in the company name culture. I wouldn't be totally shocked if that wasn't actually in the ad, though. I've seen people make errors like that. Interview with SVP of Revenue. Topics, culture, skills, role overview. And then they have an assignment, a presentation with a cross-functional team, one of those business buzzwords that just doesn't mean crap. 60 minutes via Zoom video. Topics, culture, leadership, skills, role overview. Q&A with the CEO, 30 minutes via Zoom video. Topics, you will come prepared for questions about the role, team, product to ensure that this role is the best fit for you. 7 steps, including who knows how many hours of unpaid labor with this assignment and presentation. Okay, I'm with her. I'd have bailed out on this one in a heartbeat because, number one, it's too much crap. First of all, I will say this, kudos for them laying out the interview process in the ad to let people know whether or not they want to participate. But I got to think that whatever candidate they land on is going to have to be pretty desperate. By the way, here's the hiring process that I recommend. And this, by the way, is interview process only. Number 1 is a resume-focused interview with the hiring manager. Reference check. Number 2 is a behavioral interview with the hiring manager. Different type of conversation. Look up behavioral interviewing if you want to understand what that's all about. And then a profile XT assessment or a profile sales assessment, depending on the role. And then hiring decision. When you make people jump through that many hiring hoops, you're going to lose people. And this is a fear-based strategy because this is a company that has absolutely no confidence in their manager's ability to hire for skills or for job fit. So they're going to come up with as many different interviews and as many different conversations as they possibly can to try and remove the chance of that. And I'm going to bet you to $1 to a donut that none of these interviewers is particularly skilled at doing interviews. Companies that know what they're doing in hiring don't have to do all this. It's just utter nonsense. So my urging to you, keep your hiring process relatively simple, at least 2 interviews, maximum 3. I wouldn't go over 3 interviews. And I certainly wouldn't do the thing where I am assigning people a presentation with a cross-functional team. That is unpaid work. Not a fan of that. I don't mind suggesting to candidates that they come prepared with questions. I always look at questions as a good indicator of sales talent and mindset. But no, this is just absolutely ridiculous. So that's what has been amusing me from my feed. Finally, here's your quick win for the day. If you want a technique to generate sales momentum or validate sales momentum, here it is. Set the next appointment at the end of the current appointment. Think of your communications with your customers as a chain. It's never easier to forge the next link on the chain than when you're on the current link. So at the end of let's say you're at the end of a presentation meeting, you got to go put together a proposal. Instead of doing, okay, Mr. Customer, thanks for your time. I'm going to go put together a proposal. It's going to take me 2 to 3 days, and I'll call you, and then we can set up an appointment to come back. And then you call, they don't answer. You call, they don't answer. Send them an email, no response. Text message, no response. You have broken the chain. Instead of doing that, say, okay, Mr. Customer, it's going to take me 2 to 3 days to put together a good proposal for you. It's Tuesday today. How about we meet up again next Tuesday? That gives me a little bit of extra wiggle room. Or you could even put urgency in it and say, I can have this proposal done for you in 2 days. How about we meet again on Friday? Set up the next appointment at the end of the current appointment, and you will find that your sales funnel has greater velocity. All right. That's it for today's Sales Without the BS. I hope it's been helpful to you. Hope you've liked it. If you have enjoyed it, or even if you wanted to, even if you take issue with something I've said, drop me a comment below. Like this video, share this video, and remember, above all else, remember to hit subscribe. I'm Troy Harrison, the Sales Navigator. That's Sales Without the BS, and I'll see you next week.